Hey guys, it's Jessie. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another video and a really fun one that I'm really excited for. So this is technically the start of a new series, which is going to be Project TBR, which is my version of like a read it or unhaul it challenge, which is like so popular on YouTube. I mean, I technically did start this series. I called it like Tackling the TBR back in November. However, I didn't carry on with it, and since then I've added a bunch of books, and I just think it's better to do like a fresh start, do kind of like maybe monthly or maybe more frequently videos to kind of really get through my TBR, because that is one of my goals this year. I don't know if I'm going to do it the amount that I had wanted to, but I do really want to get through my TBR. So this series is going to be called Project TBR, as I mentioned, and we're going to have kind of different themes for each episode. There might be like little sub-series within where I'm like reading my oldest books, or reading like a specific type of book or subscription box or something like that. Or other ones I might be, I don't know, reading new releases, 2025 releases, stuff like that. But there is going to be like an element of a random number generator / randomly picking in there as well, because I always find that really interesting. This is obviously inspired by Shovel or Scrap It from Beckett and the Books, which is one of my favourite series on booktube. I really enjoy watching it, but I know there's a ton of other people that have done read it or unhaul it challenges, so in no way am I trying to take credit for that. So basically my goal for this is for each episode for me to have a net negative from the previous episode, the end of it, on my TBR, if that makes sense. So say if I ended a previous episode on 220 books and then I don't know, bought 4 books. In between the next episodes, I would have 224 books, but I would have to end the episode on 219, if that makes sense. So I'd have to read 5 books in that video. So we are starting out on 268 books, which is definitely way too many for me. I do think that is quite a lot. And I'm going to start off this series by just reading 3 books for this video, or at least that's the initial plan. So there are some other rules that might make me read more. That is the initial plan, just because that's kind of what I usually read in a reading vlog, but then going forward it will be to have a net negative, if that makes sense, and I'll always try and read at least 2 or 3 per video just to make it interesting. So one of the rules that I do have is if I buy or kind of acquire a book in the period that I'm filming the video, I also have to either read that one like explicitly, or if I like don't fancy it, have other plans for it, I have to add another book on. That will kind of help us get to the initial net negative as well, and that's sometimes difficult when I don't necessarily know when pre-orders are coming in and stuff like that, but that also does mean I'll be reading like my new in books, which is always a fun time. And yeah, like I said, there'll be different themes, and this one's theme is more so just kind of reading books that have been on a TBR so far this year. So we've had like 5 months of TBRs, 4 months I think when I started filming this video. So basically going to be getting a random wheel generator and generating a book off of there each time, and it's one of the books that have been on my TBR so far this year. So I think without further ado, let's just get straight into it with our first spin. And yeah, I'm really excited for this new series. I hope you are too, and hopefully we can either read or unhaul a bunch of these books. Obviously if I don't like it I will unhaul it, that's kind of the point, and I really hope you guys do enjoy. So let's get straight into it. Good morning, it is time for our first spin, and I'm very excited, which you can probably tell from the fact that like I'm still in bed and haven't even really set up the camera properly. So I have put all the options in besides the 3 that I've scheduled for other videos, and we've got 19 options. They're all going around here. I honestly don't really mind what I get. Not to jinx it, I don't want something too long, so maybe not like the Atlas 6 or like, I don't know, the Secret History, but let's just tap to spin and see what we get. I'm so excited. Also my camera battery's flashing, so I really hope it doesn't die before the end of this clip. What is that? I can't even see from here. That is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. Okay, interesting, fun. That will be our first read for this video. Good morning. I am currently about 60-ish% through Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and I am enjoying this so far. It's definitely a fun one. This is following a group of witches kind of just in modern times, where there's basically a branch of government that kind of deals with witchy, coven-y stuff, and there are witches in secret in the UK, and also warlocks, which are male witches, I guess, and we're basically following a group of 5-ish girls who've kind of been brought up together, and they've each gone on slightly different path in magic or whatever. One of them is like the head, the high priestess of HMRC. One of them has just taken in like a troubled child that also has magic, and other ones are like dealing with telling their daughters that they're witches for the first time, stuff like that. And then basically a common cause kind of unites some of them together, and we're kind of dealing with more topical stuff as well, which I like, using certain things here to kind of talk about more modern day problems as well, which I'm also enjoying. And yeah, I'm liking it so far. It's not kind of quite as good as I maybe hoped it to be, I think, because I was expecting it to be more kind of like HMRC focused, but it's not really on that aspect of things. We're kind of more focused in on these women in their lives, which I do enjoy. There's just not as much kind of magic as I had kind of hoped or expected. I thought we'd kind of be doing more spells and witchy stuff, and there definitely is some. It's not like super exciting magic and stuff, and like I think we're probably building to like a big magical fight or something at the end. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. It's just kind of not as necessarily witchy as I thought. It's kind of like regular day-to-day witchy rather than like what do you expect when you hear like witchcraft and stuff. They're not really doing all too much at the moment, but yeah, no, I'm enjoying the kind of messaging in the book. I like it. It's interesting. I like the characters. I definitely think I would continue on with the series. I did already read the prequel, which I enjoyed. I think I enjoyed Queen Bee a bit more, just because I liked the setting and I liked that we were following Anne Boleyn and stuff. I thought that was fun. But yeah, overall I'm enjoying this so far, probably sitting around a 4 or so. And also I do have 2 more books arriving tomorrow, so the TBR grows slightly, but I will catch up with you when I finish that. I think it'll be later today because I'm doing some work where I can listen to an audiobook, and I've only got like 2 hours left on 2 times speed, so definitely think I should get through it today, which is exciting. Hello from the same angle, because it is the same day, but I have now finished up Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and I decided to give this one a 4. I think it was good. I really enjoyed it. My thoughts kind of still stood, and then towards the end I feel like I was maybe losing focus slightly, but I did still enjoy it. Juno Dawson is definitely not afraid to pull the punches and kind of like be bold in it. I also think we left off on a really interesting kind of cliffhanger for the next book, so I definitely want to read that. I think it'll be really interesting. I definitely liked a lot of the characters in here. I like the way things ended. I definitely think the main character in here, although it's kind of split between a lot of the girls, definitely feels like it is Neve, so I really felt kind of most connected to her, and I really liked following her through the book. I think kind of most chapters were probably in her perspective, or at least it felt like it anyway. I listened to part of it. I thought the narrator was good and I enjoyed that. It's on Everand as well, which I do have a link for in the description. I think we both get a free month if you wanted to sign up to that, which is like an audiobook subscription. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. So yeah, a solid 4. It wasn't like a favourite of all time, but it's definitely a good book, and I'm glad I got to it because it's been on my mental radar and then following that my physical radar obviously for a while, and I've heard really good things, so I am excited for it. So yeah, solid 4. I don't really have too much more to add because I think I did say it a lot in my initial update, but now it's time to generate another book. And I mean, if I could finish 2 books before they arrive tomorrow, that would be very handy for me, but I really do not think that is going to happen. I do still have some work to do today. Here is the wheel. I have removed Her Majesty's Royal Coven, and I also realised I put Wilde Love on there, which is a Kindle book, so would not work for this, but that's why there's one less, if you can tell, and that's not on there anymore. So let's generate again. Let's see what we get. I'm kind of excited. We have, which one's that? Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Fairies. Okay, fun. That is one that I am a little bit intimidated by, just because I've heard obviously really, really good things. But I think a cute little cozy fantasy could be a fun time. I maybe would have slightly preferred like thriller or romance to go into something that's not like fantasy-ish magical again, but this is a lot more like urban fantasy. It's very much like set in our real world but with witches, so I don't think it will overlap too much. So yeah, I guess I will catch up with you when I am a little bit of the way through Emily Wilde, which is another one I've been putting off for ages. Oh my god, this is a little bit of an intimidating, tackling books I've been slightly intimidated by as well type video too. So yeah, I guess I'll catch up with you in a little bit. Hello, I have not made any progress into Emily Wilde yet, but I have 2 very exciting parcels here and I'm so excited for both of them. I think one of them I'll probably read in this video, and then one of them maybe I will save and swap out with something else as per the rules. But these are 2 pre-orders that I'm super excited about, so let's just open them. They literally just arrived. Don't know which is which. Oh, I think this one is. Oh, she's a bit gorge. I didn't really love this cover when it was shown, but I think this is actually quite pretty. This is The Conditions of Will by Jessica Hastings. This is not a Magnolia Parks book. Whoa! Oh my god, it's gorgeous. It's like a stained glass type picture on the like inside cover. That is stunning. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, same thing on that side, and then I don't think there's anything on the naked hardback. I believe this is about another toxic relationship type thing, like complicated, messy drama type thing. I don't think it's part of the Magnolia Parks universe, but I am really excited to get to this one. I'll probably read this after Emily Wilde. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I also just think I'm gonna have the best time with it, hopefully. And I want to read this one soon because I know a lot of people didn't like Never, and then that kind of put me off it, and I still haven't read that, but I do love Jess Hastings' writing, so I really want to get to this as soon as possible. And then I know what this one is, obviously, now. Thick too. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Okay, we have Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. I am very excited about this one. This is the Waterstones edition with the really gorgeous sprayed edge. We've also got some fun artwork on the inside cover of this one too, and then same thing on this side. This is, I believe, Succession If They Were Magical, I believe. I'm not too sure. I'm excited for this. Okay, I've not actually read any Olivia Blake before, so actually scrap that. I may just read this in this video, I can't lie. And I think this is so cool cover wise. I just think this looks cool and I love it. So those are the two books that have just arrived that are very exciting, so I may actually go back on everything I said and read both of these. I love like family drama, like any type of angst in a book, so I think maybe both of these will give me that. So yeah, absolutely stunning books here that I can't wait for. Okay, so I feel like I've worn this top already like a million times in this video, but I promise it is clean. I have changed. It's just very warm in the UK at the moment, and this is very nice and comfy for me. However, did I read this entire thing without updating? Yeah. Is it 5 stars? Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, it is. So I got like 40% of the way through this, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I'm just going to sit down, I'm going to read a little bit more, maybe 50-60%, and then I'll give an update, and then I'll pick it back up again. And then I sat and I read the entire rest of this book in one evening. I stayed up late for me, which was like 1ish. Normally I go to bed at like 11, so I haven't stayed up to read a book in ages. I loved this so much. I adored this. I think I preferred this to some of the Magnolia Parks books, not necessarily like Daisy Hates 2, which is like my favourite one ever, but I loved this. So in this we are following Georgia, who we actually do see a couple of times in the Magnolia Parks universe. Not enough that I would have clocked her without having someone else like hear other people talk about it. Apparently she turns up like 2 or 3 times in The Long Way Home, I think it was, and she does mention a couple of characters from the Magnolia Parks universe in here. Not a lot, it's only in kind of like telling a story from the past, like their name is mentioned briefly, but I love that. I ate that up entirely. I was so excited and I literally had a physical reaction. It was a little bit embarrassing, but luckily I was by myself, so it didn't matter. We are following Georgia, who is from this kind of like rich southern family in, is it South Carolina? I'm not sure, but like the deep south in America. I don't even know if South Carolina's deep south. I don't know American geography, sorry. She has a kind of like very religious, quite traditional, I guess, conservative family. She's very close to her older brother. She's got 2 older brothers. She doesn't really get on with the rest of her family, and she basically gets kicked out at like 14 and gets sent to school over in the UK, and she's grown up there until her dad dies and she's back for the funeral. I think she's only been like back once since she got kicked out. So this is a really interesting story because we follow that family dynamic. There's a little bit of a light mystery that we're trying to uncover. It's mentioned in the blurb, but it doesn't happen until like over halfway through regarding the father's will, but it's not a really big part of it. Georgia's kind of back facing her family for the first time, and there's a lot of stuff kind of about things that she's been through that comes up a lot. Like I would say big trigger warning in here for SA, just because that is kind of a large theme throughout the book. I personally think it was handled very well, but like I do think that is something you should know going into it, and I don't think that's a spoiler because I think you can tell quite early on that like that's going to play a prominent theme. And this is basically, it is a romance between her and her brother's kind of sponsor from AA, because her brother has kind of struggled a lot with alcohol problems, and there's a lot of drama there because her brother basically doesn't want her dating him. Like we kind of think that the brother might have a bit of a crush on him, stuff like that, and it's just a bit messy if they do get together, but like they have a very instant connection. And throughout the book I really just loved the way that it wasn't like the sole focus of the book, but they were just very much drawn to each other. They really got each other and I loved them together. The way that Jessica Hastings writes about kind of like romantic feelings and kind of all feelings, like the way she describes things with like metaphors and stuff, I think is absolutely beautiful. I really want to go back through this and reread it. Like the writing is absolutely stunning. Like, one of my favorite things about the Magnolia Park series, I am always more of like a character focused person. I never normally clock writing unless I think it's bad, but this is like absolutely gorgeous writing. I love it so much. I think it is absolutely incredible and I get so sucked into it. I think it's amazing. She's really, really good at writing like a connection between characters, and you can really, really feel it as well, and I love it. And it's only in kind of like some of the smaller interactions, but he's really, really got her back when she hasn't really had very many people in her corner, and I really, really liked that as well. I think they're an excellent couple and I really like them together. Like, things definitely moved quickly because they're only there for like the course of a week or so, but like, I don't really care. Do you know what I mean? Like, insta-love doesn't bother me. I'm very much fine with that. And another really interesting aspect as well is that Georgia studies like behavioral psychology or something along those lines, basically where she can kind of read people's emotions quite easily based on their facial expressions, and she gets kind of quite into it in like her inner monologue, but she's able to tell kind of like people's reactions to things and kind of sense if it's like likely they're lying, how they're reacting to things, stuff like that. And it's really, really interesting to see, and it kind of works differently with different people and stuff, and it's quite interesting the way that she thinks about things. And you're just like the type of person that I want to be. Like, she's so cool, like effortlessly, and I'm like a little bit obsessed with her. So yeah, I adored this book. It was absolutely excellent. I just love Jessica Hastings' writing so much. I do really think she's one of my absolute favourite authors. I really, really love this one. I'd love to see kind of more books like this that are like offshoots, I guess, briefly from the Magnolia Park series, but obviously I want a Daisy Hates 3. Like, give it to me please. Absolutely love this. Like, without a doubt, 5 stars. You'll see this in my favourites of the year. I thought this was incredible, and I definitely think you could read this without having read the Magnolia Park series because they're really not connected. However, this might be like a good intro to her, just in the way of like, you don't have to commit to a series. Do you know what I mean? It's less intimidating, I guess, because it's a standalone, and the way it's kind of left off, like, I think it's very much going to continue to be a standalone. I don't think this is one that you'll like add books in later down the line. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely love this one, and sorry for not giving a halfway update, but yeah, I was absolutely obsessed with it. So let's go back into our regularly scheduled programming, not me jumping in after reading an entire book without telling you about it. Hello! So I am now pretty much bang on 50% of the way through Emily Wilde. I had reading sprints the other night on my channel, which was so much fun, so thanks to everyone who did come, and you can watch them back if you do want to. They're just on the live tab of my channel, and I'm thinking of doing some more, so hopefully you'll be able to join them. I'll put them up kind of like a few days in advance, so if you see them come up on your feed, that's just a little reminder of me doing the sprints. But yeah, I got about halfway through during those sprints, which was really, really great, because I was pretty much starting from like page 20 or something, and I'm actually really enjoying this one so far. I think coming off of the Conditions of Will, I was a little bit worried that this one was going to feel really slow and I might want to pick up something else, but actually I'm really, really enjoying it. So in this one we are following Emily, who is a little bit awkward. I think she's neurodivergent coded. She is a little bit blunt. She doesn't like read people very, very well, but she is basically kind of researching fairies, and she goes to this really kind of North Scandinavian small town, like in the middle of winter, where she's trying to kind of research the hidden ones for her encyclopedia. And then a little bit of the way in, her academic rival, Wendell Bumblebee, turns up and is like, I'm gonna help you. I also need to do some research here. So it's basically them going around this magical little area trying to discover stuff. They've just kind of been sent off on some form of quest, but I won't give too much detail about that. But I was like giggling while I was reading this. I love academic rivals. That's like my favourite type of romance, I guess. I have so much fun with it. I think it's so fun. I love banter in books. Like, I feel like that is literally just unmatched. Like Conditions of Will, it was so good. In here, their little bits of banter is just amazing. I love it. So I'm having a really fun time with it so far, and I'm excited to see where things go. I definitely think I'll continue on with the series. And yeah, overall just really enjoying the writing style. I'm enjoying the inclusion of the magical creatures. I think that's really, really fun, and they are all kind of unique and stuff. I really love reading from Emily as well as a protagonist. She's very endearing. She comes across really, really well. Just is like really, really sweet and lovely, and just really, really interested in her fairies. I really, really like her. And yeah, overall it is a fun time, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So yeah, I'll catch up with you probably when I finish it. Hopefully maybe today. If not tomorrow, I can kind of bang this out. And yeah, definitely think it'll be at least a 4. I'm having a great time so far. Hey guys, so I have now finished up Emily Wilde this morning, and I really, really enjoyed this one. I decided to give it a 4.25. I thought this was so much fun, and I really want to continue on with this series. The quest thing I mentioned halfway through kind of wasn't taking up as much of the book I thought, which was nice. We had quite a few little kind of conflict type things that we had to resolve and stuff like that, and little missions and stuff, which was really, really fun. And then at the end there was kind of like a slightly bigger one, which we also resolved, and I thought it was just so much fun. And I really, really enjoyed the characters in here, both the two main characters and also kind of all the side characters from the like island and stuff, or the village, I guess. I think the later books probably follow different side characters, but I think Emily and Wendell here were just so cute. I really loved them together. I liked their banter. I loved Wendell for one, and I really, really liked Emily. I found her super endearing, and I just really liked them both together. I liked the writing style. I liked that it's kind of direct to reader and told in diary format. So like at the start of the entry you might get like, oh, you know, I really didn't expect it to turn out like this, blah blah blah, like let me go from the start or whatever, which is a really bad way of me describing it, but hopefully you kind of get the gist of it. So yeah, overall I really, really like this one. I felt really positively about it and I thought it was great, so I really can't wait to continue on with the series. I definitely would consider this like cozy, whimsical type fantasy. However, there are decent stakes, I guess, but like no one's like in mortal peril, do you know what I mean? So yeah, I enjoyed it. 4.5. And now I did read a couple of pages of Gifted and Talented, but I just don't think that's what I'm kind of in the mood for right now, and I do want to save that one because I do think that could be a potential 5-star. So I think we will randomly generate another book and then do the same thing for our final book when we finish this one, if that makes sense, because we still have to read 2 more books. Just don't know whether Gifted and Talented is what I want right this second. So here is the wheel and we will randomly generate again. Oh, I've made it go blue by accident. Oh, how do I get rid of that? Oh well, that's there for now. Anyway, we have, oh, I can't see what that says. The Gathering. Oh, that's a fun one. So, oh, sorry, I knocked you. Apologies. The Gathering by CJ Tudor. This is a kind of like horror thriller type thing where it's like a small town and I think there is vampires and the detective is trying to like figure it out. But yeah, really excited for this one. This will be good. So yeah, I think I will get started with this today. Hello, I am currently about halfway through The Gathering by CJ Tudor. I think I'm like 64% of the way through. Please ignore my one massive pack of mini eggs in the back and the mess of my blanket and everything. I am enjoying this one so far quite a lot. I thought I'd give you an update now because I do think I'm probably going to sit down and finish this afternoon, kind of maybe in like one go, just because it is a really quick read. I don't know whether that's because like the text isn't too big, it's not particularly like wordy or tricky to read. I also do think that's kind of within the nature of a thriller, but like I'm finding it very kind of quick and easy to read and I am enjoying it so far. In this one we are basically following this detective that's come to this small town in Alaska with like 673 people, as you can see on the front, and basically in the woods this colony of vampires have basically just moved back in, and in this world vampires are like a protected species, but they do like occasionally kill people, so a lot of like religious people and stuff like that are really against them because they're like, it's satanic and we should kill them all, like blah 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 blah. And then this detective that's come to this town, she's like a vampire expert and she is kind of working under the Vampire Protection Act or something, and she has to basically determine whether the vampires should be like culled entirely or whatever. And basically what's brought her here is this murder of this boy, and it's, at least looking at the start of it, to be by a vampire, so she's brought in to kind of like assess and stuff like that. And this town in particular has had like a history with the vampires in the past with other killings and stuff, and she's now kind of seeing like, is it a vampire, is it a person, are they linked, etc etc. So it's definitely interesting to follow so far. I don't think this is like a 5-star, but I am still enjoying it a lot. I like the writing. This is actually the first CJ Tudor book that I've read, even though I have like maybe 4 on my TBR. I have so many. Enjoying it so far. I think it's a quick read. I think it's also a really interesting kind of premise. I think it's definitely unique in that way. And yeah, so very much enjoying this. I definitely think I will finish it off today. And yeah, I'm like intrigued by the story. There's nothing in here that I'm like, I'm really desperate to like find out the kind of truth behind things or anything like that. I don't feel particularly connected to the characters, but I think in terms of like just a thriller, I guess horror-esque, but I wouldn't class it as a horror just because it's got vampires and I don't know whether it would class as one. But yeah, it's definitely a interesting kind of premise and stuff like that, and I'm enjoying it. Definitely quite unique. Probably sitting around a 4-ish at the moment. So yeah, I think I'm probably going to finish this off this afternoon, to be honest. I can't lie, I'm feeling very excited to spin the wheel again, and that's half what's motivating me to finish this today, so I can spin the wheel today. I'll catch up with you when I've finished it and then we can spin the wheel again. Very exciting. Hi again. I have now finished up The Gathering by CJ Tudor, and I don't think I'm in focus. There we go. I decided to give this one a 4.25. I did really enjoy this. I think the pace definitely picked up towards the end, and we kind of got a lot more of like gore and like drama stuff happening, which I enjoyed. However, I do think this one lacked just a little bit of oomph. I don't necessarily know how to describe it well, but I feel like it was just lacking a little bit of oomph from like a thriller horror hybrid. I don't think this was particularly like crazy in terms of like suspenseful, and I did sometimes get a little bit confused between characters. I think especially some of the older characters that had been around when like the previous crime took place, that kind of got a little bit confusing for me personally, and I feel like it underperformed on the vampire front. I feel like the cover and everything, obviously like it's a book about vampires, but I feel like we don't see tons and tons of the vampires. We don't like interact with them that much. We don't see them necessarily in their own perspectives or any of that very much, and I really would have loved to see a bit more of that from like a vampire book. However, I did really enjoy it. I thought the twists and turns were interesting. I didn't feel kind of particularly connected to any of the characters, but I think a 4.25 is pretty solid. Maybe a 4, maybe more like just a solid 4. I'm not sure. Probably tomorrow I'll definitely feel more 4ish, so I might give it a 4 for now instead of a 4.25. But overall I did enjoy it. I had a good time, and yeah, I feel like just a couple parts lacked a little bit in maybe like hard to describe ways. I enjoyed the protagonist. We got some hints towards her backstory, which I would have loved to maybe seen a bit more of, and I also think towards the end we kind of lead up in a way that there could be a follow-up book. I mean, I'm not sure if there will be, but it's definitely something that I would be interested in. I would like to see some more of kind of this type of story. I think it's definitely an interesting perspective to see vampires as this kind of like minority group. But yeah, overall I liked it, so I think a solid 4 is a good rating for it. But now, very excitingly, that means that we can generate our final book for this video, which is obviously super duper exciting. Okay, so I do have some kind of preferences in mind. I don't want to say them out loud because I don't want to like jinx it, but let's generate our final book for this video and see what we get. I'm a little bit nervous. I can't see from here what that says. What do we have? The Unmaking of June Farrow. Okay, not one of the ones I was the most excited about, but definitely one that I think hopefully should be good. I don't think this is too long yet. It's literally just over 300 pages. I believe this is a little bit mystery-esque, fantasy-esque, cozy slightly. I'm not too sure. So yeah, I mean, oh my god, that text is very small on the page, but I'm looking forward to it. So we will see. I will catch up with you when I have made a little bit of progress in here, and we'll see what I think. Hello, I come to you, I think maybe from the same angle as last time, but I'm feeling very cozy, and it's been a couple of days and I've made some progress in the Unmaking of June Farrow. I'm currently 122 pages in, which is about 35% of the way through, and I am enjoying this so far. I think for the first 50 pages or so, I really wasn't oversold on it. I wasn't enjoying it very much, and I just felt quite disconnected from it, but then we get to a point in the plot where we definitely get a development around maybe like 100-ish pages, like 80 pages in or so, which I think is pretty much setting us up for where the story is going to go, which is very much more interesting and an aspect that I really like in a lot of stories. It's one of my favourite kind of subgenre trope type things. I won't say what it is because I do think it's fun to have that revelation. Really enjoyable so far once I've gotten past that point. I am enjoying it a lot. It's nothing crazy so far. I think it has the potential to be like a favourite and also has the potential to just be a bit mid, so I'm excited to see where we go from here. In this one we're basically following June, whose family, all the kind of women in her family history, the husbands have either died or not been around, or the father of the children's not been around, stuff like that. All the women eventually have kind of gone crazy, and her mother went missing and kind of abandoned her pretty much as like a baby, and then her grandmother is kind of in the thick of going a little bit crazy as well, and June is starting to kind of hear voices, see things as well. That is leading her to believe that she is also kind of going down that path. So we're kind of following that, and she's also trying to figure out what's happened to her mum, but I don't think that's going to carry on throughout the book. I don't think that's like a long trajectory. We're at an interesting point here, and I think, like I said, it could definitely go down a way that I like a lot more, or not. So we will see. Though I do think that sometimes she is annoying me, because I do think she's a bit stupid, for one, and secondly as well, she's very much like, there's a situation where she's in where she doesn't recognise someone who clearly recognises her, and he understands that she doesn't recognise him, and he's like, get in the car, you have to get in the car, and she's like, why, like, I don't want to, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, like, maybe let's like just like put 2 and 2 together here and actually like communicate. And it was going on for a while, and he could have been like, look, I understand that you don't know me, but I'm trying to help you. And she would have been like, yeah, but like, I have no idea who you are. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is weird for me. And like, he at least was understanding of the situation, like he knew what was going on behind the scenes. So like, it didn't really make any sense that it would be like that much of a conflict for a while, and it was just a bit ridiculous. And she seems a bit stubborn. She's like, why do I have to do this, why? And it's like, well, just babe, just do it. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not that deep. She's like, I don't want to go back to the house. And it's like, well, you have to, you like have to, do you know what I mean? And like, you understand why, and nothing really bad has happened there, you just like this other house more. I was like, what are you talking about? Anyway, it's not that deep, but she was just annoying me a little bit. I have been listening to the audio. I read the first like 50 pages or so physically, and then read like 70 pages or so via audio. I'm gonna read it a bit more now, see how I feel about it, and maybe I do prefer it by audio, I'm not sure. But yeah, going to continue on now. However, I was planning initially on getting this video up tomorrow. Today is Tuesday. However, we had a book arrive. That was a really annoying voice then, so sorry about that. However, I did a double stamps pre-order over the weekend, and one of the books wasn't a pre-order, it was just a regular order, and I thought it would arrive tomorrow, and I thought I would have extra time because yesterday was a bank holiday, and normally I get like a message saying your package is arriving tomorrow, the day before. But today I got a message saying your package is arriving today, hearing nothing yesterday, and it arrived today. So like, yay for Royal Mail, boo for like me getting this video out on time. However, the book in question is How to Seal Your Own Fate by Kristen Perrin, which is the second book in the Castle Knoll Files series. The first one is How to Solve Your Own Murder, which I read towards the end of last year in my Goodreads Choice Awards video, and I really enjoyed it. That was like a 4.5 for me. And this is the sequel, which has recently come out, and looking at this, it's actually a lot shorter than I had anticipated. It's shorter than the first one, and I think it's about like just over 300 pages, so I don't think it should be too difficult to get through. It's got reasonably big text on the page as well, and I know the story, well, not the story, but I know the characters, and I'm familiar with the world, so hopefully, knowing that I enjoy the writing and stuff, I should enjoy this one a lot. And this is also signed. My first one's signed too, so I am going to be reading this as well in this video. I'm not going to sub it out for anything, but I am looking forward to it, and I think I could really enjoy this one too. So yeah, excited to kind of make immediate progress in a series. But before that, I am going to now, hopefully, not this evening, probably finish it off, I don't think I have time, but hopefully make a decent amount of progress further through the Unmaking of June Farrow. Hello, it's actually been about a week since we last spoke, and I have finished up the Unmaking of June Farrow. To be honest, I finished this probably like 5 days or so ago. I've just been putting off updating, and I haven't really been reading much in the meantime, so I haven't really felt like a need to update anything, because like I'm not getting ahead of myself with the reading. However, I did enjoy this one. I decided to give this one a 3.75. I think for me the thing with this one is that like I felt like the kind of concept was slightly better than the execution, and I felt like the main character was slightly annoying at times. It felt like things were being kind of hidden from the main character just for the sake of the story, and I did kind of feel like if we just had like one open conversation at the very start of this, it would have been a lot easier. I understand that the main character kind of had to come to some realizations, but it felt like she had come to like a decent amount of them by like the halfway point, and we could have had like an open discussion, and then everything would have been kind of sorted, really. I also think the main character has to make a choice at kind of the end point of this book, and I feel like both options are kind of like weighed up, but it seems quite clear what's going to happen, and I feel like we get a little bit of hints of what the other choice could be, and I just felt like that wasn't really kind of fleshed out, and there wasn't really, it didn't seem like the main character was kind of contemplating this a lot, or June, I don't know why I'm just calling her main character. June didn't seem to really kind of consider a lot of it. It kind of just felt like, oh, this is what makes sense for me, and it's like we didn't actually really have much realization or kind of discussion about how much of a big kind of life change that would be. I feel like I didn't really explain this well, but we basically get kind of like hints at what this choice could entail, and it's almost like a teaser, and like the bits that are teased are like really nice and like involve other people as well, and they would be very happy and stuff like that, and then it's kind of like, oh no, that's not gonna happen, and it kind of just felt a bit like, oh, all right, then why are we showing it in that way? Do Do you know what I mean, if that makes sense? Again, I'm trying to be vague because it would like be complete spoilers, and especially given that I'm not talking about like the main plot point of the book, it is a little bit difficult to explain. But it was more like, why are we getting like teased of this when it's just not going to happen? You kind of know, I think, a decent way through that it's not going to happen, so it just felt a little bit weird. And I get it, but also I'm like, made me feel like weird that it wasn't developed more if we're getting teasers for it, if that makes sense. And also there is a romance in here, but unfortunately I don't think that was really very fleshed out. There is like a history between the characters, however it felt like there was no kind of actually on page in the book kind of parts of them falling for each other that made it believable or something I want to root for, annoyingly. And I feel like a lot of the connection and stuff was built off stuff in the past. Also there's kind of like an amnesia type of plot point, not quite, but like June can't remember certain things, and there are very convenient points where she remembers things that just kind of feel a little bit contrived for the book, and I felt like it could have been done in a little bit of a more kind of like developed way that was a little bit less kind of convenient, do you know what I mean, at times. So yeah, I just kind of felt like the idea I loved so much and I thought it was really cool, but I do think this could have definitely been fleshed out a lot more, and I feel like we spent time on certain aspects that weren't potentially as useful for like the character development and the story, and we kind of missed out parts that weren't really involved. I feel like this probably could have been like a 500-page book or so with like some really strong like character development, like relationship building between the characters. We could have like spent another 100 pages or so like just in different scenes on like the romance. I think that would have been really, really useful. And I think also like the full plot of this book takes place over like 4 or 5 days, which is also a crazy amount of time to have like such a strong decision be made. There were a couple little aspects that I thought were like interesting revealed towards the end, however it just did feel a little bit contrived. But that being said, I did give this a 3.75 rounded up to a 4 on Goodreads. It felt like a bit of a 4, but like I feel like that was more, I just love the idea of it, but the actual execution, I did have a few problems with it in terms of like things not being fleshed out, and certain things were just kind of like, oh, we'll just forget about that, and it was like, oh well, that was kind of quite important to you for like the first half of the book, and that just was a little bit frustrating. So decided to give it a 3.75 for that reason, but definitely still a strong book and I really did enjoy it. Then moving on to what is hopefully our final book of the video. I am currently a little bit of the way through How to Steal Your Own Fate. I'm currently 99 pages through and I'm hoping to make a good amount of progress in here. We've kind of just set up the mystery pretty much at this point, so we're kind of going to start investigating from here. We're kind of again in the past and also in the present through the main character's great aunt's journals, so that's going to be interesting to see. This is a sequel, so I don't want to talk too much about it as I don't want to spoil the first. However, because they're kind of individual mysteries, it's not like following on the whole way through. There's only like little kind of character plots following all the way through. It's not like a big spoiler, I don't think, but we're kind of solving the mystery and some of the stuff surrounding the fortune teller that told the fortune in the first book. Both in the past and in the present, they are involved in this murder that we're trying to basically solve, and I definitely think it's going to be interesting so far. I do think for the first 40 or so pages or so, it was like, remember from the first book, remember this from the first book, also remember this when I did this in the first book, and it felt a bit like, okay, like I do appreciate it because I did read it a while ago, but it felt a bit contrived of like, yeah, you don't have to like flat out tell me this information. It felt very much like last year when I was here and I did this and this and this and I discovered this and that and that, and it was like, okay, cool, like we get it. So like it was useful, but I definitely think it could have been done in a little bit of a more subtle way. Might have been nice. I'm gonna make some progress through here. I'm excited to carry on with it. I like the characters, I like the writing style, I like the kind of jumping in the journals into the past as well. We kind of follow 2 timelines, I guess, and then they eventually coalesce into solving the mystery, is what I presume. That's at least what happened in the first book. So yeah, excited to carry on with it. Hopefully I get a good way through it tonight. Hello, it is later in the same day and I have made some more progress in How to Steal Your Own Fate. I'm about 60 to 70% of the way through now, and first things first, this is such a quick read. I have read this for like, I don't know, maybe an hour, 20 minutes, and I'm like now like 200 pages in or so, so I've definitely made a ton of progress quite quickly. We do jump between timelines in here, and I do think that helps to move the story along, though at the same time it does mean that the mystery, it can be layered across those different timelines. However, we can't really delve enough and get it complex enough that we would be able to actually kind of like have a really intense mystery going on in here, and like a layered one, do you know what I mean? I feel like it's going to be not simple in its conclusion, but like I do think it will probably not have like multi-layered to it, if that makes sense. Like I think I prefer a little bit more of a unique and kind of thrillery mystery than this kind of classic mystery. The lighting is going like all kind of colours. I'm sorry about that. What I think is the redeeming quality in here, not that it needs to be redeemed, I guess, but what I really enjoy about this series is I really do enjoy Kristen Perrin's writing. I find it really easily readable. I really like the characters as well. There's like a little tiny budding romance in here that I really enjoy, so I just kind of enjoy that aspect of it. I don't necessarily feel like super compelled, like I need to find out what's going to happen. I probably will finish it this evening, but like it's not like a I can't put it down type of thing. But I do find myself able to kind of like read a good amount in good chunks and stuff like that. I definitely think it's like an enjoyable read. I think if you really enjoy mysteries, you would really enjoy this and this series. I definitely think I'll continue on with the series because the mysteries are definitely interesting and I like the characters and stuff like that. And I think for a mystery thriller, a lot of the times I do have to feel reasonably connected to the characters. I feel like that's something that's often kind of like looked over in mystery and thrillers. I really do enjoy when I do feel connected to the characters. That's why I like Gillian McAllister's books so much. They are much more thrillery, but this is kind of like a fun, I guess, kind of cozy-ish mystery. It's not cozy in terms of like a lack of violence or anything like that, because like multiple murders do occur and stuff like that. However, I do think it's cozy in terms of the setting. It's a reasonably small town and you kind of get to know a lot of these characters as well. However, I do think as series like this go on, you kind of get your main set of characters, and then as soon as, I don't necessarily think that's the case with this one, but as soon as new characters are introduced, you kind of like run out of people that can be suspects, if that makes sense, because you have your regular set of characters that you've pulled from like the 2, 3, we're saying as if this was going on in a series, 2 or 3 previous books. You know that like her and her friends aren't going to be the murderers, because that would like make no sense, and like you can't really just pull a bunch of backstory when there's been like no hints to it before, if that makes sense. So like you either run the risk of having to introduce like a ton of new characters, or knowing that probably, you know, one of the 3 new characters that we've introduced this book has probably got something to do with it. And again, that's not an issue for this book, but I do think it's something I can see potentially being an issue that we run into in the future books. Though I don't know how many Kristen Perrin plans to write. I don't know if this is just a duology. I would expect there to be more, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see for that. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. But for just this book itself, I am enjoying it. It's kind of like a classic little mystery, but I enjoy the writing and I enjoy the kind of jumping around in timelines. So yeah, I'll finish this off this evening hopefully, and it will be the last book for our little TBR tackle. So yeah, I'll catch up with you when I've finished it, and maybe to conclude this whole video. Crazy stuff. Guys, we are finally here. I at one point did not think this day would come, but we are at the end of this video, and I have, like I said, finished up How to Seal Your Own Fate by Kristen Perrin. I decided to give this one a 3.75. I think it was ever so slightly less strong than the first one, just based on the mystery, and I believe I gave the first one like a 4.5, but I did round this up to a 4 on Goodreads. Like, I do enjoy it a lot, and I had a really fun time with it, so I really did enjoy it. I think the resolution of this mystery was quite interesting. I think sometimes in books like these, I'm not necessarily trying to guess the plot and guess the result of the mystery, but it definitely was like interesting. However, I did find a couple points with the kind of timeline in the past with the Frances' journals and stuff that we're finding out there that relates to the mystery in the current day. Some of the stuff there we would like find it out there, and then because Annie, the main character in this, didn't have access to the journals in present day, we'd kind of have to come up with a little bit of a convoluted way on how she also got that information, because otherwise like one half of the characters in the past, the reader, and then not the present timeline people know what's up, and it felt a little bit weird kind of like reading 2 different people like discover the same thing within like pages of each other, if that makes sense. However, that wasn't like a big massive part of it that bothered me. The kind of resolution to the mystery was interesting. It's not something I would have guessed, but again, I wasn't like trying to really. I didn't feel super attached to any of the characters like enough to be like, oh, that is shocking, like I cannot believe that. However, again, I just enjoy the kind of characters in here. I'm looking forward to the future books in this series. The author seems to be kind of putting in like clues of like, oh, there's so many more diaries that Annie hasn't read from her great aunt and stuff like that. So it does imply that there could be a lot of mysteries, or there could just be one more if she's got a 3-book deal. I think it kind of just, I guess, Probably more so depends on the publisher than the author, I guess. Again, that's just speculation, but overall I did enjoy this, and a 3.75 is a very good rating for me. I am very well aware that this is a long video, so I will not spend too long wrapping this up, but I had a really fun time filming the first episode of Project TBR, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. I think we had a decent amount of good books in here. We had no unhauls as well for like a reader or unhaul it vlog, which is maybe a little bit annoying, but I think when I do kind of maybe reading some of the older books on my TBR, there will definitely be a lot more unhauls, whereas these ones were all ones, especially because my monthly TBRs this year have been mood reading based. A lot of these ones are ones I was quite excited for, so they weren't going to be unhauled, but I think the lowest we had is like a 3.75, which is pretty good in my book. And we had a 5-star with Conditions of Will, which is one of my favourites of the year, so that is definitely a standout favourite from this vlog. Everything I think overall I probably would recommend. So yeah, we are now on to 365 books on my current TBR, and I do think I have some in the mail on the way, so that will go up a bit, and then our next episode we will have to wind that back down again, but hopefully, ideally I'd want my TBR like around 100, but we will see. Thank you guys so much for watching this first episode. If you made it to this point, maybe just leave like a little 100 emoji down below to represent my ambitious goal for my TBR one day. And thank you so much for making it this far. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this, don't forget to give it a like down below, hit subscribe and turn the bell to on a little clap, and make sure you turn on all notifications. Then you'll be notified every single time I post a new video. If you want to watch one of my other videos, there'll be 2 on the screen now to pick from, as well as I linked up in the cards from earlier. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.